Well, good morning, everyone. It's 11:30, and we're going to turn it over to. Oh, sorry. This is my first time officially doing the running through the agenda, so bear with me as the new president. So, welcome. We're going to start off with our pre-commission agenda. Are there any general housekeeping items?
Or questions on the agenda? No.
Questions on the agenda?
I just want to do some kudos. I saw some emails I watched part of and then talked to Councilmember Clegg about the big hearing last night at Boise City. This is a huge deal in the area I represent. We've been watching this in this part of town for like decades.
A long time.
Decades. So a very important mixed-use development. I know Justin was there. He knows what I'm talking about. One of the things I really want to appreciate is that staff recognize that we really need to look at that area as to what Boise and the neighborhood needs and wants, and that being able to waive a policy on parking on collectors was really important. It also then highlights to us what we need to do well, why is that policy seems to be so rigid, or there's that flexibility isn't already there, that we would be able to work with the city in developing it. So that's great that the staff was able to do that. Big kudos. I appreciate that. Let's look at that. That's one of the many policies that we should look at, just instead of blanket application of no parking on collectors. The one thing I hope as we move forward is that we use our performance measures, that it should be LTS1 all throughout that whole Victory, Canal, Annette corridor. So LTS1 on that is a top priority, because already that road has speeding. There's no development on the south side, and people use that to cut through from Vista over to Federal Way right now. So having an opportunity and having the developer participate in making that LTS1 is really, really critical. The other is the railroad crossings, which the neighborhood's been asking for ages. Now is an opportunity, and I know it's off-site, but I think there's something being worked out so that we can at least get those railroad crossings with sidewalks. And the other is the signalized intersection at Malad and Federal Way, so that people can cross and get to the multi-use path and then head onto downtown. And I understand there's still a few sidewalk gaps. There might be some sidewalk gaps or sidewalks that are not standard that we can do. And obviously this is an area where it would be really great if the things that we're moving on, that we're starting to move on, that have been in the 5-year plan or should be in the 5-year plan, can synchronize with the development that was discussed at Boise City last night, so that it's like one and done, attempting to have all that big heavy equipment in at the same time. So that's I just want to reinforce that. And of course it's a huge development. It's a huge change. It's really important. They're going to be paying big impact fees. Mm-hmm. And guess what? None of those fees, none of the facilities that are needed, like that signalized intersection on Federal Way, are eligible for impact fees, which is a shame. So that's another reason why we ought to be updating it. That development, I'm sure they would have no problem there. Impact fees paying for something a little closer to home, and they don't. So I just want to point that out. Councilmember Clegg also said that they are updating in part of the zoning improvements that the type of street trees that are required, the width for, they have class 2, class 3 street trees. We have a policy, sort of gels with the cities. The city's going to change that and allow class 3 trees to be built in 8-foot planters. Right now it's like 10-foot. So they're going to adjust that. I think it's really important that we adjust ours at the same time. Now, it might not necessarily have to be for every city in this county, but we should adjust if the city's adjusting something, because of course these class 3 trees are much more important for livability of a neighborhood, permanence, vertical elements, all those sort of things that help with. In fact, it's one of the elements that helps bring an area to LTS, an improved LTS. So I just want to sort of highlight that, Councilmember Clegg pointed him out. There's another example where our two approaches won't gel, so here's an opportunity to make sure they do. Thank you. It was a great hearing last night. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Mindy.
It was
Thank
long.
you, everybody. I know that there was a ton of work that's been going into that. I just really appreciate that, that we're moving in the right direction.
Madam President, Commissioner Henson, thank you. Again, just as a reminder to the commissioners, we don't waive any policies you do, but what we do is we take a very wide interpretation of what that policy might be so that we can work those things out at staff levels before they have to come on. So they did a great job on that wide interpretation, and we fully support it at all.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Director.
Madam President, you might want to ask the group if there are any questions on the agenda before.
Yeah, that's what any other questions about the agenda? Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Commissioners, good morning. Stacy, if you bring up the presentation, please. A couple things before we get into that. First off, as I hope you all know, we have finalized the Boise joint meeting on February 2nd, 9 a.m. at Boise. We've also finalized the Meridian joint meeting, which will be the 24th of February on at 4 p.m. at the city of Meridian. Commissioners, and again, Commissioner Hanson, thank you. Well, your comments will lead right into some of the things we're reviewing on DTS here today. I wanted to update you. You'll get a monthly update on where we are on our innovations that we shared with you earlier this year. So next slide, please, Stacy. Just as a reminder, these are the 4 major focus areas that your staff is operationally going through when it comes down to accelerating innovation on all aspects of everything we do here. Next, please. And I'll go through this by division for our HR team right now. As you know, one of the most critical things we're doing is how do we develop multiple capable teams? How do we do that? So right now our HR team is reviewing current existing job titles and descriptions, also then followed by financial considerations and such. This will be a work in progress for months and such as all of these are as we move forward in operations. Next slide, please. In-house training, something that's critical to any organization across the board. Right now, we have taken a holistic review of all training, technical leadership, soft skills, you name it, across the board, to see what areas we can consolidate on, what areas we need to focus on, and what areas we can enhance to, again, provide ACHD and Ada County a better, a greater operation going forward. Next, please. The Human Resources Information System, again, it's out of date. It doesn't work as advertised. It is not as user-friendly as it should be. So this is the initiative we're taking to address this so that those folks that do want to join the Ada County Highway District, and we're doing great on this, have an easier time of letting their desires known, filling their applications, and receiving feedback from us on a very timely manner. Next slide, please. We are taking the interview process apart and seeing what best practices are, not only here in Ada County, but outside of Ada County, to understand, are we missing anything? Are there new ideas? Are there different issues? And you know the initiatives we went through last year to better support the team, and thank you all for allowing us to do that. This will be critical in how we bring on new members into 23 and 24.
Director, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So the key questions there, I think those are always really good questions, but was there feedback or a problem that prompted these questions, and could you provide some background on that?
The opportunity for people to absolutely apply to us is more difficult than it needs to be. The interview process overall takes time, and in today's environment, with so many people that may be looking for opportunities, speed is, I call it from an airplane perspective, speed is life. And so that's what we're looking at to make it more user-friendly, more interactive, and a better fit for our team members to be able to answer the questions that come forward. It's good now, it can be a lot better.
Do you know how long it took, like the whole recruiting process or the application process from the application closing to interview? Is that like a couple weeks, or you mentioned it's kind of long?
It can be a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
So,
Okay.
speed is life as we move through this. Commissioner, did that answer your questions? Okay, great. Next, please. For communications, we are looking very hard at how do we make the TELUS system again more efficient, more effective, more automated. Because in today's environment, the TELUS system goes through multiple steps, through multiple organizations, and has many fingers touching it before the answer comes out. And as you all know, you see every TELUS that comes in and you see every TELUS answer that comes out. We do have about a 94% success rate in answering those within 1 week, but some of these we can do better. And so our communications team is taking a great look at this in coordination with their new website tools that you're going to see shortly in the work session here for the integrated 5-year work plan, some of the results of that. So that is what they're working on across the board. We will be testing this with you. We will be testing this with the executive team as we go forward before we roll it out. Next slide. Special event permit process, as I've shared with you in the past, we do a lot of special events. There are a lot of things that come in front of our traffic operations. We believe with, again, the new tools that we're using through rebranding, through upgrade of the systems, we're able to make this, again, easier for the customer and easier for our team to review and approve and such. So, again, we'll keep you posted on that. Next slide, please. Investigation across the board. DT&S is doing a great job in coordination with our communications team. But as you know, sometimes traffic investigations take a very long time. And sometimes when a customer comes in and says, I'd like to do a speed study here, or I'd like to do, we have it's a good process, but it's a legacy process on how people interact with the district, what our next steps are, and then how we interact with the public going forward. I think that was one of the things earlier that you raised on something we may want to look at when it comes down to our current process of number of people, percentages, those sort of things going forward. So that's in communications bucket. They're working with our traffic team, and we're very hopeful that in the near future, we'll be providing you something that's a little bit more customer friendly as we move forward on that. Next slide. For communications, media training for all of you and all of us. In today's environment for social media, and of course all the media interviews that we get, we haven't really done this in a long time. And so this is one of the initiatives, innovations our communications team is standing up to provide all of you, and of course the executive leader team, current media training facility opportunities and education going forward. It's not that we are saying you can't say this, that, or the other, but I think it's always great to have those tools in front of you as we talk with our media partners. Next slide, please. And then ride-alongs. Our communications team, as you know, has done a tremendous job. You've seen Skippy and such all over the place. What? Chippy, yeah. Have been everywhere. You're going to see a lot more of him, and our communications team is doing this not only to promote the Ada County Highway District, promote their understandings of how operations work so they can communicate those more effectively, more efficiently to those citizens and media experts that are consistently asking for updates and or for information. Next slide, please. And by the way, it keeps our media folks that they're not the enemy. Our communications team is not the enemy when they showed up, and so it's again building morale and camaraderie within the entire organization for them. Maintenance, the Tiger team on looking at new fleet technologies. Here's where we are. Again, we are in an initiating process on this one. We have already reached out to a couple places, but we're exploring all opportunities. This will be a long-term event for us. As you know, when we stand up our traffic ops center in a couple of years, and of course our new maintenance centers, we're going to be looking at different technologies, different energy sources, different ways of working operations. This will form the foundation of what type of equipment in the current and then future that we will be bringing to you as a recommendation for you to invest in moving forward. But we can't do that realistically without going through this first, so that we know what's out there and we understand what's working, what's not working, and what type of risks we may be taking when we look at this. But this is going to be an incredibly big deal on how we transform in the years out, how you transform in the years out the Ada County Highway District operations when it comes down to all the equipment we have here and the things that we do. Next, please. Partnerships. We are, as you know, a very unique organization, but there are a lot of organizations out there that face some of the same things we do and have some of the same challenges that we do. And there's probably a lot of great ideas on how we may be able to better partner inside and outside of Ada County when it comes down to our maintenance operations. Yes, we are on the leading edge of a lot of things, but at the same token, again, we believe that there's a lot out there to learn. And if we can partner with different agencies, we may be able to continue to decrease the cost associated with operations. And if we can bring different relationships into the play and bring them to you for your consideration, this will be a better operation going forward. We've already met with CWI. Why were we out at CWI? Intern opportunities, to skill set opportunities, to see how we can offer CWI our stuff to help train them, to encourage more young people to potentially not only join CWI, but in the long term join the Ada County Highway District. So it's an addition also to our intern program that we have moving forward. Next slide, please. Prime duty operations, surge operations, apprenticeship programs. We're looking at how do we train CDLs? How do we use CDLs? What type of standard operating procedures do we have right now? Are they relevant? Are they most effective? Are they most efficient? This is a big push and big pull for Jennifer and her team to basically look at everything we do and see, based on the previous one, are there things we can do better? Are there things in our own processes right now that are hampering operations? Are there things in our processes that are costing more than need to cost? And are there better ideas out there? So this again is basically a reinvention when it comes down to how we look at operations going into 23-24. Next, please. DT&S. Stacy, if you hand that out, please. Ryan is doing a tremendous job in innovating development technical services. The first big push is to stand up that rapid implementation team. Commissioner Hanson, this answers part of your discussion earlier when you talked about those gaps in sidewalks and this, and such. What we are going to do, what we are doing, is looking at all these different projects that may be smaller than what needs to be on the integrated 5-year work plan. And then how can we address those in a quicker manner? In front of you, you have and the next page will show you some of the things on how we plan to address those. Again, this is in the more than the planning, but less than fully operational aspect at this point. But this, I believe, will support the commission when it comes down to in-house projects, quick projects, things that you see or your constituents raise as an issue that may not be quite an integrated 5-year work plan project or a capital improvements project, but something that when we put this together with the right people, we can get out there quicker and we can make it work and such. So Commissioner Hanson, that issue about maybe railroad crossings, pedestrian crossings, stormwater, those sort of things, smaller areas, when we are successful with this, and we will be, I think that that will answer some of the issues that come up that may take a long time now, which may take a shorter time going in the future. This again is a big deal. Next slide, please. Cross-training strategy. As you know, Stacy is the first to go on this, and this is in line with HR's initiative on how we do multiple capable team members to, again, expand our capability without dramatically increasing our costs going forward. So this is in the works. Ryan is reimagining his entire organization, and this is really fun to watch going forward. So I'm looking forward to coming to you in the next couple of months and saying, okay, we're done. Here's what's happening. Here's how it's benefiting the community. Next, please. DTS role in the project team, and this rolls into what Justin is doing. As you can see, there's a lot of cross division coordination on all these moving forward. We think we can streamline projects for the public. This is another aspect of being able to do that. Do we have the right people, and is DTS's role current and to be effective and efficient in today's environment? That's what we're looking at right now, and I know we'll have some recommendations for you in the near future. Next slide, please. For plans and projects, Justin and his team is completely reimagining the ACHE project team from top to bottom. When we stood this up, I want to say 8-9 years ago, we had a specific construct in mind, and it has become a very great system, but it is a large system and such. So maybe there is a better way to put this team together that will provide you and Ada County quicker answers and quicker reviews of certain different projects going forward, which hopefully will accelerate them, at the same time then cost less when it comes into the difference between scoping and everything else that we do today. So we're very excited about this. Again, I know I've said this a lot, this will be a big deal for Ada County Highway District when we successfully finish and roll this out. Next slide, please. Scoping process. The scoping process will form the foundation for everything going forward. Today, it sort of does and such, and they do a great job at it, but at this, we need to incorporate the Commission's new directions in scoping early. And if we do that early, then that lessens the cost of design and lessens the complexity of these projects. And as you know, there are some awfully big projects on the horizon going forward. But at the end of the day, when we do this and refine our scoping process, I think that'll be greatly enhance our abilities to more effectively and efficiently plan and execute projects in Ada County. Next slide, please. And then consultant education. Justin and team is working this hard. We have great consultants, we really do. However, some of our consultants have not understood the Commission's new focus on how the Commission wishes certain projects to be done. So we're going to take the effort to educate and re-educate our consultants on what they should be looking at initially, as opposed to coming up with a design and then 2 months later I have to be in front of you with I need more money for a redesign and such. So our goal, our planning and projects team goal, is to have this done right up front and such, but that takes time and it takes a little bit of education on our part and commitment on our part to continue to share the Commission's new directions with our consultants, so they work one time through this as opposed to multiple times going forward. Next, please. And then to sum this all up, we have stood up the Mobility and Access Coordinating Team. We talked a little bit about that yesterday during the ADA meeting. They were very supportive of this. You may have seen we've already gone out with a advertisement to recruit a mobility and access coordinator to lead all these pieces. So in a nutshell, both maintenance, development technical services, and planning and projects have consolidated. No new people within the structures that we have now to put safe walks to sidewalks, safe routes to sidewalks, sidewalk repair, ADA, bicycle, pedestrian actions under one hat. That's multi-jurisdictional. By doing this, we've actually increased, without increasing numbers, the number of inspectors we now have on our for ADA by moving our sidewalk team under that umbrella. And that was briefed yesterday to our ADA community, and again, it received a very good recommendation going forward. So in a nutshell, this is really a great initiative and a great innovation that our three departments have come up with, and we're very excited to see how this rolls out. And we are very excited to see who they may select for their first mobility and access coordinator to tie these all together. So with that, commissioners, that is my administrative report for today. Do you have any questions?
Madam President?
Yes, Commissioner?
Director Wong, just one question on that very last item. In 2021, the district hired a new pedestrian, and I guess I can't remember the exact title of the position, but we created a new position.
A bicycle pedestrian individual, yes, Meg McCarthy, doing a tremendous job.
Right. Why wouldn't the direction of that whole effort not logically fall under the purview of that particular person instead of going out to get an additional employee?
For the advertising process, we may see an individual internal that takes that position. We always look for the best and the brightest, and we have the best and brightest here, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're not missing anybody that may add more insights, more background can make us better. That's why we go out and such when it comes down to any type of advertisement. And again, the position is not really creating a new one. We've made it from within. Does that sort of make sense, sir?
Okay, so that was kind of my question. So we're not actually creating a new position. The total employee count is not going to change based on this. Instead, we're rearranging how things are connected.
The president of the commission and the commission has full authority on the number of total members we have here. We bring that to you in the budget session if we're looking to add another position, but it's fully your authority. I don't have that at all. So if there's something that does come up in the future that says we really need to increase X, Y, and Z, here's the rationale, it comes in front of you. And if you agree, great. If you don't, great.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Director. I have a lot of questions on these, but I know that we will come back since this was kind of like a flyover of a lot of stuff, and then actually have like Sherry up here to talk about HR initiatives and
yes,
Justin
absolutely.
come up and talk about plans and projects. That's great. So I'll save those for later. I did have something I forgot to raise on the consent agenda just real quickly, just to get, if somebody could get back to me, that's all I want to do. And that is we're going to put a little more money in the consultant on the Barber Valley. There's 2 crossings, Maynard and Skybar. We're going to up that because of some cost adjustments. But my question in looking at that was, is that been triggered by, and hopefully we are looking at this differently now that that segment of Warm Springs has been, the typology has been shifted from arterial to collector. So the type of design for those crossings, there's more flexibility in what you can do. The other is that it looks like the change is only to one and not to the other, the Skybar or the Maynard. I can't remember which one. So I had someone ask me out of that neighborhood, said, so what's going on with this? I think it's just some added costs, but I couldn't tell them, yes, the reason why those costs are associated with our adjustment in the typology change last year, or it isn't. It's unrelated to that. So if someone could get back to me, that would be great.
We'll have that done as soon as the meeting's complete today.
Thanks, Director. We'll be at ease for...
Madam President, you have just a couple minutes.
Thank you.
About this project, because I'm not.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's now 12 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order for our January 11th ACHD meeting. And before we get started, I'd like to invite everyone to please join us in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Madam President, I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam President, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion?
Madam President, just one quick comment on item number 2, the commission appointments to boards and committees. I think it would be at least relevant for the commission to understand that the Air Quality Board, because of last year's vote by the state legislature to eliminate the emissions inspection program, the Air Quality Board, which is one of these commission appointments, will be wrapping up its business and dissolving this year. So I just think it's worth knowing that.
Thanks, Commissioner McKinney.
Thanks.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So with that, we're going to go to our regular agenda items. The first one is our FY 2022 financial audit. Jen Humphreys. Oh, Commissioner Goldthorpe, did you have a?
I did. I just wanted to clarify for Commissioner McKinney that that bill does not go into effect unless and until the EPA approves the DEQ's 5-year maintenance plan. And that is not a guarantee.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, back to our agenda. Jen, do you want to come on up? Hi, thank you for being here.
Okay, Madam President, Commissioners, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Jen Humphreys, and I'm the Accounting Supervisor here at ACHD. And recently, we completed the audit of our fiscal year 2022 financial statements. And I'm pleased to introduce Kristen Diggs, a partner at Eide Bailly, who's going to kind of give you some highlights of that.
All right, thank you for letting me present the audit report to you guys today. Like Jen said, my name's Kristen Diggs. I work at Eide Bailly and I'm an audit partner there, so I oversee ACHD's audit. I've seen a lot of you before, some new faces. First off, the financial statements, which hopefully you've had a chance to review. These were prepared by the management here at ACHD. Jen got the opportunity to work through this the first year, so we worked together a lot trying to get through everything, and hopefully she's ready to go for next year. But it is prepared by management. We did not have any adjustments as a result of our audit procedures over the financial statements that you see here. There was a new standard that was implemented this year, which is going to change some of the terminology that you're used to seeing within the financial statements. The standard was GASB 87, and so gone is the terminology of capital leases, operating leases. Everything's now just a lease. So you're going to see some terminology in Note 6 and Note 7 that refers to a right to use asset. So that's if you're paying for the lease, and then if you happen to have any lease receivables, which you guys don't, there is the introduction of deferred inflows related to leases now and a receivable that wasn't there previously. So it didn't really change a lot of the financials that you guys have, because you did have mostly capital leases in prior years, but there was, I believe, at least one new lease that came on as a result of this standard that was previously an operating lease. So you're going to see reference to that in the opinion, to an emphasis of a matter paragraph, and all that says is we implemented the beginning balance and some of the stuff changed as a result of that. So that's all that's saying. It's not management screwed up or anything like that. It's just we implemented the standard and changed beginning balances. As a part of the audit, we issued 3 separate opinions on the financial statements. The first one's found on page 1 of the document, and this is our opinion over the financial statements. You're gonna see the way it's ordered is just a little bit different than prior years. We're leading off with the opinion because that's what everyone cares about. It is an unmodified opinion, but we did have an implementation of an auditing standard this year that did change the way the opinions are kind of laid out. So it is an unmodified opinion. No issues to report. We were able to get comfortable with the testing. On page 53 of the document is our opinion on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. And so as part of the procedures, we go through and do walkthroughs over significant processes. We go through our testing where we confirm balances. We do analytics over the different balances. We're pulling lots of samples and looking at it, make sure it's supporting everything. If there would have been a breakdown in internal control related to that, this is where we'd have the opportunity to talk about it. If we thought it rose to that level, there were no issues. So this is an unmodified opinion. The third opinion that we issued is our opinion over the federal programs, or single audit opinion. This is on page 55 of the document. And in the current year, for the most part, your scheduled federal expenditures, which you'll find on page 51, is made up of 1 program, the Highway Planning and Construction Program. So if you remember in prior years, there was some COVID funding that came through. There wasn't any of that this year. So we were back to testing the Highway Planning and Construction Program. As a result of that testing, we did not have any issues. So that is an unmodified opinion as well. And so with that, do you guys have any questions for me?
Are there any questions?
Madam President, and I've forgotten your name.
Kristen.
Yes.
We just got a major federal grant called a RAISE grant. Obviously, they haven't funded it yet, so it won't be happening until the next fiscal year. Would that be incorporated in that? It's not really maintenance, or that would be a separate federal program?
It depends on how it's set up. If it is derived from federal money and it has a federal assistance listing number associated with it and everything, then yeah, it would likely be included on the CFA, and it depends on the amount and if it has, when you guys start spending the money on it. Yeah. So it'd be based upon the review of the grant agreement and everything. So we'd have to take a look at that.
Good. I was also intrigued, this is something I'm always intrigued with, that what the threshold is for material and immaterial misstatements. And in your letter, you identify these are immaterial.
Yep.
But at what point does it move from immaterial to material?
So we have dollar amounts, and we actually keep those to ourselves. But we have dollar amounts based upon the different opinion levels that we issue opinions on. And so we set dollar thresholds on that, and then based upon those dollar thresholds that we set, which are a percentage of either revenue or assets, and it's going to depend on the fund, what kind of drives that fund. But based upon those dollar thresholds, if it's above it, it's material. If it's not, it could be significant but not material, or you could have your immaterial, which are items that, you know, you're always going to have small differences. Oh, yeah. Those are what we consider immaterial, so, or trivial type differences.
But those are numbers you keep to yourself.
I keep to myself. Share. Yes, I don't even share it with management. So we like to be mysterious. So.
Hey, you accountants.
Yeah.
Any other comments for Kristen?
I don't have any.
I just want to say thank you for being here. I think it's really important to have you just highlight some of the nuts and bolts, the cliff notes, if you will, of the report, just so the public can hear from you about what you found and all of that good stuff. So just again, thank you for making the time, and we're really happy to know that we're doing such a good job. So thank you so much for that.
Yep. And I will say that, again, all the staff at ECHD that we have worked with are just awesome to work with. And so we really appreciate all their hard work, because we do look at a lot. So, yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So then we're going to move on to regular agenda item number 2, the vacation. Oh, sorry. Sorry. We have to approve it. My bad. Yes.
Approve.
We need to accept it. Thank you for catching that.
Yes. So, Madam President, I move that we accept, is it accept or approve in this case?
There's nothing to approve.
Okay. I move that we accept the fiscal year 2022 financial audit.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded to accept the financial audit for fiscal year 2022. Any discussion? Okay, thank you for that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thanks, Ken. Any opposed? Perfect, thank you so much. All right, so then moving on to action item number 2, the vacation of public right-of-way for Madrone Village subdivision, Arroyo Indio Farm LLC. I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. And Mr. Serdar, nice to see you.
Madam President, I believe if we're talking about item number 2, are we not deferring this item?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, David Serdar, right-of-way supervisor. Staff is requesting that this be deferred now that the hearing is open, be deferred till February 15th so that we can have more, there can be more contact with some of the adjacent property owners that have reached out to ACHD as well as for the pre-approval, the pre-approval process with the plat to continue with CUNA City so we can get some clarification on some issues.
Thank you, Mr. Serdar.
Madam President and Dave, I had a couple questions that I raised
Sure.
back when, I just look at the record, just concerning the connectivity and the completeness of those streets which we're vacating and getting something in exchange for. And if you wouldn't mind just looking back on those and those comments from whatever, last December, maybe November.
I can answer them if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
President Pickering, Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, I believe the question you asked at the consent was, were the amounts of the exchange and the vacation were exactly the same?
Right.
And that is just because that's what they put in so that even. We're actually getting a lot more property in this. There will be connectivity on the west side that goes all the way down. That will go all the way down, as well as there'll be connectivity. Basically, the main street is being moved from Yankee Rock over to that. And there will actually be a lot more property that will replace what exists there now.
My concern was connectivity, and I just wanted to make sure that was
Yeah.
addressed. Thank you.
And that's part of what the preliminary plat process will help them clear up a little bit. So.
Thank you, Mr. Serdar. Any other questions from the commission? Was there any questions from the public? Or no, do I not need to take that since we're going to defer? Okay.
There's somebody raising their hand in the back.
We are postponing the vacation till February 15th, so that if the concerns,
That he could talk to.
Oh, hold on, Mr. Lucas will. Thank you for your question.
Yeah,
Let's get an answer for you. Hold
it's
on.
a good question, and commissioners, from the audience, I heard that, and just want to provide some clarity that if I can. So this is one of those chicken and egg situations where we have a vacation application, which is a completely separate application from the preliminary plat and the development. In this case, the vacation was applied for prior to the preliminary plat and the development, working its way all the way through the city of CUNA. They're the ones so the primary application would be through the city of CUNA, the preliminary plat, that would go to their planning and zoning commission, that would go to their city council. And one of the reasons we're asking for this deferral is we believe it's more appropriate for the city of CUNA to consider all of these issues, the circulation pattern, access issues that may come up through that regular public hearing process associated with the development. Once that's all worked through, then it makes more sense to come and act on the vacation. That would be staff's preference, which is why we're requesting this deferral. So I apologize if there's any confusion to the public about the purpose of today's hearing, but there will be hearings on the Madrone Village subdivision at the city of Cuna in the coming months. And I think that would be the most appropriate place for the public to begin their kind of interaction with this development. And if they still have concerns with the vacation, they could certainly come and participate in our process also. I hope that it's an attempt to help clarify, and I can certainly have further conversations with members of the public offline if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Does that make sense to you, sir? Okay, Mr. Lucas will be able to answer any questions. So aside from that, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public, sorry, can I keep it open? So we need a motion to defer it, is that correct? Okay, so I'm gonna call for a
Madam
motion.
President.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinney.
I move that we defer the vacation of public right-of-way for Madrone Village subdivision, Arroyo Indio Farm. The public hearing be deferred until February 15th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded, any discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. It's been deferred to February 15th. All right, so I'm gonna move along to item number 3, resolution number 2396, vacation of public right-of-way of Federal Way east of I-84, Gritton. Again, Mr. Serdar.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me put my glasses up here. I'm seeing a lot of blurry. So thank you once again. For the record, David Serdar, right-of-way supervisor, Ada County Highway District. This is a decision briefing and public hearing for a vacation. It's east of it's east of I-84 and west of Federal Way. It's right in between those two. This is a vacation for 39,124 square feet of right-of-way. It was a joint application from 2 property owners. ACHD staff has received the $2,500 application fee. The proposed value of the vacation is $244,133. This is a close-up view of the property. As you can see, on my right side, or as I look at this, that is Federal Way. I-84 is on my left-hand side of this picture. The area in blue is what is going to Mr. James Grant, and the right-of-way that's in red, kind of up there in the corner, will go to Mr. Gritton. In terms of numbers, Mr. Grant will be getting 36,888 square feet, and Mr. Gritton will be getting 2,238 square feet. It is staff recommendation that the commission adopt and sign resolution 2396 authorizing the proposed vacation, as the applicants have completed all commission and staff requirements. There will only be one resolution in this case, 2396, but when documents are signed, there will be 2 deeds because we have 2 people receiving the property. So that's just from a technical standpoint or logistics. I will remain standing for any further questions.
Commission, do you have any questions for Mr. Serdar?
Yes, Madam President, if I may. Dave, thank you for this. Could we go back to the slide showing the aerial view? There we go.
Yeah.
Just for to be clear on how this came about, can you explain to me, are these just leftover street right-of-ways that in existence before the interstate was built? Is that what this is?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, what happens a lot, we see it actually quite a bit, is this area when it's platted, which it's pretty obvious this one looks like it was platted before the interstate was built. There's a lot of right-of-ways that were platted. We see it all the time in stuff from around the turn of the century and everything. The road in this case was never even built. It's just platted. And as we've worked through this with our legal department in the past, once it's platted, the only way to get this out of the public right-of-way is to do a vacation.
Okay.
So obviously somebody's come along and they've bought most of this piece of property, and they want to do a development, and they want to get this T that would break up the property out and get it back into the whole development. And obviously, since we don't have a road, we would like it to be that way, you know.
Well, and then I guess, so we've got the right-of-way portions here that are being vacated. You've also got then the different parcel boundaries here. Is the realignment of the parcel boundaries following the vacation, is that something that's simply up to the property owners? They simply request how those are to be realigned. For example, you know, we have multiple parcels and the right-of-way appears to abut several of them on opposite sides. Do the property owners themselves simply decide where they want those new boundaries, or are they going to, is it just up to them? It's not our concern at all. We just get rid of the property and let them handle the boundaries of all those separate parcels on their own?
Yeah. Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, really what also happens is they usually do this in conjunction with some kind of a platting process with the city. And also our development, often our development, in this case, since it's a commercial development, they'll submit that to our DTS folks. So usually this is done with, in cases like this is usually done as some kind of a platting with the city in the future, you know.
Okay.
It would be its own parcel right now, but since they own several of the pieces around it, my assumption is they would go ahead and go through the development process.
Okay, so that just it doesn't affect us. We simply vacate it and let them handle it
Right.
however they choose. Okay.
Right, and from the developer standpoint, you heard a little bit of this in Justin's on the last issue. It's a chicken and the egg problem, which a lot of times before they go to the city, they want to know they're going to get ACHD right away because they don't want to spend all the time putting the plat together before. And so those are some of the things that us in right away, us in DTS, we all try to work out with them.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Did I answer? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Serdar. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. Is there anyone?
There is nobody online. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to?
One person.
Do you have somebody?
Perfect. Welcome. Come up. We've got someone, member of the public. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Thank you. Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering, 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise. Madam President, members of the commission, I'm here representing the property owners, so Mr. Grant, Mr. Gritton. Mr. Serdar did a fantastic job summarizing our request. Essentially, these properties were platted way back in the mid-1900s, and this right-of-way was never opened. And so to accommodate future development, they'd like to vacate this land to be able to add it to the adjacent properties. So the blue is all located adjacent to Mr. Grant's property, and the red portion would go to Mr. Gritton once vacated. And they are working through processes with the city to be able to consolidate those lots and accommodate future development. So I don't have a whole lot to add, but I'm here for questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? All right, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and ask the commission if they want to, for a
President,
motion.
I would move to adopt resolution 234096, vacation of public right-of-way, Federal Way, east of Highway 84.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just appreciate all the opportunity to take unnecessary, unused right-of-way off of the public and put it on the private sector so that appropriate taxes can be paid on it. It'd be nice to know if there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that was planted 100 years ago that ought to be off since we're never going to use it. But in the meantime, I'm glad to do this.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anyone else? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. And that's the end of our Our regular agenda, we're gonna move into public communications. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission? Nobody online? All right,
Can talk now?
perfect. So then we're gonna adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. So then we're gonna roll into our post-commission agenda. We have a work session on the 2024-2028 Integrated 5-Year Work Plan Process Development and Public Outreach Update Workshop, presentation by staff. That is a mouthful. And yeah, Christy, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. This going? Good afternoon, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, Christy Inselman, Planning and Programming Supervisor. So myself and Margaret Zellis will be presenting on the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, just process development and public outreach update. So the purpose of today's work session, we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of go back and refresh Commission on the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan process, because it may have been a few months since we've been before you on the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan. So we'll be reviewing that process, and then Margaret will be updating you on the community outreach efforts to date, and then reviewing next steps in the process. So this may look familiar to some of you, not all of you. So we like to do a snapshot of all of the times that we will be before the commission throughout the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan process. As we filter our way around, we'll gray out the ones where we've been before you already. So we did come before the commission back in October as an initial kickoff. Since then, we've had a few meetings external to the commission, and we're here today on that public outreach update. So just a refresher, what is the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan? So this plan integrates our road system, construction, maintenance, and operation all into one plan for our capital budget. And this is something that implements ACHD's long-range plans and reports that implementation effort. So our bike master plans, our neighborhood plans, our CIP plans, this is where we implement those projects. It also informs ACHD's future capital budget, so we have an idea of what we've got coming up on that. And it also creates transparency. It's our outward-facing plan to help educate our partner agencies and the public on what programs and projects that we have coming up in the next few years. We do that through, we have a landing page for the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, as well as an interactive map that has detailed information for the public on what we're doing in their area. So they can literally zoom right into an area that's important to them and see what projects that we're doing. We also coordinate this plan multifaceted. Nothing we do on the 5-year work plan is done in a vacuum. We do tons of public outreach, outreach to our partner agencies, as well as internal outreach to other departments on asset management, things that are coming up that we need to be cognizant of and to add into the plan as well to make sure we're maintaining our system adequately. So as far as the framework for the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, again, not a vacuum. We have a ton of things that filter down into the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, where projects come from, coordination with our partner agencies through their comprehensive plans, communities in motion. We also have our ACHD strategic plan, and then those ones you see there in the middle with the lovely icons, those are a multitude of ways and locations that we also have projects that filter into the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan. It is a mouthful. We have our asset management, again, to maintain the system that we currently have, our ADA plan, transition plan, bike master plan, the 16, I keep saying the wrong number, 16 neighborhood planning areas, and our capital improvement plan, which details our roadway and intersection projects for the arterial network over the next 20 years. All of that filters in to our Integrated 5-Year Work Plan. For project selection, we get projects that go into the plan from a multitude of locations and jurisdictions and the public. So we utilize those existing plans. So again, neighborhood plan, bike master plan, CIP. We also receive a lot of projects through requests. So that's something that Margaret will go over. Our public outreach, we reach out to the public, what projects are important to you. We got a lot of great projects from them, as well as our partner agencies. We have that out to them right now as well, what their priorities are, what they're hearing from their communities. And then the public always has the opportunity to submit an application process specific to ACHD, and that's something a future update, we'll talk about some changes that we're making to that process. So those kind of filter through our industry-leading prioritization methodology and our programming strategies, and that all filters into the integrated 5-year work plan. So this is just a snapshot, kind of a 30,000 level view of the integrated 5-year work plan. There's a lot more goes into this, but just a very simple, straightforward of the process itself. And as I stated, this is a year-long process. So pretty much as soon as we adopt one, we start the process on the very next one, because every year projects get completed and every year we need to move new ones in. So this is in essence what that is. So we've already gone through our kickoff workshops with our partner agencies. We have had that call out for projects from the public, and we're still open for our partner agencies. So once we receive those requests, we will go into evaluation of those projects, which ones need to go through our scoping efforts. The scoping efforts are a process by which we go out and look, basically boots on the ground, to take a look at a project that somebody has requested, because we need to evaluate the feasibility of the project, the cost that would be associated with the project, where, you know, looking at it on Google Maps, it may look like just a simple sidewalk project, oh, 300,000, but we get out there and we realize it's a much larger effort, and that's what the scoping helps vet out, as well as any additional things we need to add to that project. So that'll be, we need to decide which ones need to go through that, because really we need to know the cost and feasibility of a project before we can add it to the integrated 5-year work plan. And then in April, May, June, we will be getting into our project prioritization process. So it is a lengthy process that we go through, but it also helps inform us on when we get into programming on how projects are vetted out through that methodology. So if it's a new project, how that works into the plan. If it's an existing project, are we accelerating those projects? So that helps to inform that. And then other elements that we look at when we're programming the integrated 5-year work plan is geographic equity. We want to make sure that we're providing services to the entire Ada County, not just one jurisdiction. So services to everybody, and where some areas of our county community programs are super important to them, because maybe their arterial network is built out, and so that's their focus, and we're cognizant of that, whereas other areas, their community programs are built out and their arterial network needs love. So we look at that. We also have to take into consideration available funding. So my wish list is much, much larger than the dollars we have to spend on them. So funding is always something we have to take into consideration, as well as our capital allocation methodology. All of that flows, and in the end, we have a wonderful integrated 5-year work plan that we bring before you for adoption. So that is currently scheduled, targeted for the end of September. And I believe I will be turning this over now to Margaret Zellis, and she'll be going over the public outreach.
Thanks, Christy. Welcome, Margaret.
All right, thank you, Christy. Madam President, members of the Commission, for the record, Margaret Zellis, Senior Transportation Planner here at the Highway District. And today I will be reviewing the public outreach process we've been doing for the 24-28 Integrated 5-Year Work Plan. The outreach extended from November 16th until January 8th. The public outreach was lengthened to 7 weeks this year compared to 2 weeks in previous years as a result of our prioritization review that we conducted last year. This outreach helped us identify the needs throughout Ada County and will be an incredible tool as we move forward into our industry-leading prioritization process. Compared to previous years, this year we launched on an entirely new platform. We utilized an interactive map that would allow the public to place categorized pins anywhere in the county. And we also utilized a survey method to help collect similar information. Compared to previous years as well, this map that we used was blank. We wanted the public to be able to tell their story about their community. And we saw fantastic feedback throughout that process. To help promote this process, staff distributed posters with QR codes to libraries throughout all of Ada County, conducted a large social media outreach through our webpage, Twitter, Nextdoor, and in collaboration with our partner agencies. Staff even did an interview with a local news station to help explain the process. And staff has presented and communicated with the advisory committees and neighborhood groups and is encouraging their continued participation throughout this process. Commission staff was blown away with the overwhelming amount of feedback we've received. Previous outreach efforts have brought in between 50 to 100 public comments. This year, we have 1,271 public comments. Staff is reviewing and organizing all of these comments. We want to be able to provide you a thorough understanding of the public feedback we've received, and we'll be back to you next month. Additionally, we have 56 members of the community who are subscribed to this page as well. So we have continued participation and continued educational opportunities for this process. Staff is confident that the 24-28 Integrated 5-Year Work Plan will continue to have groundbreaking participation and great opportunities for education and transparency with the public throughout this entire process. Additionally, staff believes that this created a public-facing tool that will help allow our members of our community to learn from each other's responses as well, which is a really great part of this process. So what's next? Staff is reviewing and organizing all of the comments. We want to be able to tell you what the neighborhood plans are, what the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, if it's programmed already, what are the previous agency requests, is there a VRT route, what are the school districts that it's in? We'd like to be able to provide you with all of that information. In the meantime, here are examples of some of the highest comment areas throughout the county. And these are just a few examples. We've had phenomenal feedback throughout all of the counties across all of the cities. Some of these examples include the Linder Road, Overland Franklin Overpass, Star Road between Chinden and State, the corner of Latah Street and Alpine Street, the 9th and Myrtle Crossing movements, and State Highway 55 and Beacon Light Road. As we continue forward, as a reminder, staff did launch a partner agency kickoff meeting on November 16th because we understand our partner agencies are important collaborators and we want to continue that coordination with them. Following the informational kickoff, we sent official letters to all of our partner agencies inviting their participation and shared a media toolkit to assist in any public outreach that these partners did. We want to support our partners in their ability to process this information, because it's a lot of information. So staff has provided 2 updates to our partner jurisdictions with the requests that are in their specific areas, and we'll be following up with a final update in this next week as we finish processing all of these public outreach requests. As these public requests indicate, there are unique needs throughout the entire county. Just one second.
Mark, thank you. Margaret, sorry, I didn't want to jump ahead. Go ahead.
And we've been fortunate to have the opportunity to meet with and support some of our partners in one-on-one meetings as well, and be able to provide our agencies with support as they prepare their own prioritization requests, which will be due February 15th. Additionally, staff has contacted and continues to encourage our neighborhood groups and advisory committees to submit their own formal request letters by the February 15th deadline.
Question on that slide. So just to clarify, so the WASD is West Ada School District, isn't that correct? Okay.
Madam President, that's correct.
And then the letters to the advisory committees and neighborhood groups, is that through email or snail mail? Like, how are you inviting their participation?
As a part of, Madam President, as a part of our public outreach process, our communications team has emailed with and reminded our neighborhood groups, and the advisory committees have been in contact with staff. Some of our groups, like our Bicycle Advisory Committee subcommittee for the Integrated 5-Year Work Plan, does have a meeting with staff coming up so we can support them while they develop their lists.
Thank you.
The next steps for this process, staff is eager to come back to the Commission on February 15th with a thorough review of the public outreach requests that we've received. Following the next month, staff will come back on March 15th and will review the partner agency prioritization requests that we had received in the previous month to help give the Commission a complete picture of the different requests and priorities throughout Ada County. Commission, all of this great information and review is to help you while you navigate your own priorities. As staff prepares to move forward with project prioritization and programming for the 5-year work plan, we would like to provide a gentle reminder that Commission project priorities can have the biggest impact throughout the entire process if we can receive them by March 30th. Thank you, and I'll now stand for any questions.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Thank you, Christy. Any questions from the Commission? Commissioner Hanson.
Madam President and Margaret, this is fantastic. Every year gets better and better. Actually, it's been fun this winter because I've been talking to different people, and they say, "What? You know, in the past I just call you." There's a really cool interactive map. Please go and do that. So one thing I want to do is ask that you leave it up, even though it's closed, so that I can look and others can continue to look. And I'm telling the neighborhood associations, go and look, because the other is, oh, well, we already know it's on the 5-year plan, so we don't need to. I said, well, because it's a blank map. Those are just for new things. I said, not necessarily. So I said, no, if it's on the 5-year plan, doesn't mean if somebody didn't comment on it, it's gonna now disappear. No, it's also gonna move in, but that's gonna influence that. The other is that I've told the neighborhood groups that I've spoken to, now it's your job to go and look at those comments, because your job is to help us prioritize. So they need to know that. And it's our job to talk with them. So that's part of our job and I really appreciate that, because, if the other 4 commissioners just sit quietly, all the projects in District 1 will be prioritized towards the top. So,
Sure.
but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, this is like, each year it just gets better and better, and I really appreciate the opportunity to I'm constantly looking at that map and the existing 5-year integrated map, interactive, and part of it's, we'll continue to improve our ability to describe, because as you know, sometimes a project gets on there as a bicycle project, but then as you've scoped it out, it becomes something more. But what do we call it now? Because we originally gave it this sort of bikeway number or what designation, just call it a livable street. It's big or small. The other is the opportunity to take projects, because I know we've run into this. We ran into this on, was it Kootenai? Something where we couldn't get bids on smaller projects so that we knew how to combine them. Said these would be logical projects to actually combine, and then maybe we can get a good bid, some good competitive bids on those projects once we've combined those. So those are my questions. I really appreciate all of this, and I tell you, we're using it a lot.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Sure, a couple of things. One was, last week I made a rather bold claim that ACHD was the gold standard for public outreach and communications. And I don't know how many of you were watching the response to that, but 100% of our harshest critics agreed. This is the prime reason for it. Another thing was something that we need to keep watching, and I'm gonna kid Jim for a minute. When we first had the opportunity to decide some questions and projects about sidewalk gaps, I was fortunate enough to probably be blessed with most of the biggest beneficiary of that year. And I have noticed that some of those projects have been damaged or destroyed by the utility projects going on in Cloverdale Road. So we need to make sure that those are restored by those who damaged them. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Madam President?
Yep.
If I can just make a quick comment, I agree. I think this is an outstanding tool, outstanding resource for information and feedback from the public. And I think this information taken in conjunction with the survey, the countywide survey that we had done this past year, that BSU handled, and likewise a similar survey that was done by the City of Meridian, give us a lot of very helpful information that we can take into consideration with making decisions on the integrated 5-year work plan this year. So thank you very much.
Any other comment?
Yeah, Madam President, I'll just reiterate that I've heard a lot of positive comments from the public about this new tool. So thank you to staff for all your work in this. And I do agree with the other commission comments that this is a really useful tool going forward. So thank you.
And I would just want to echo Commissioner Hanson's comments about leaving that map up, because I, would also like to look at it with constituents, because I noticed, Layton Alpine showed up as one of the top 5, and yeah, I think those are great suggestions, Commissioner Hanson. So if you could send us the link so we can have that afterwards, that would be fantastic. And yeah, just great work. I'm sure the commission will be providing that input to you ahead of March 15th, so we can keep things on the straight and narrow and moving forward, and don't delay and hang up any of your great work. So thank you again. Great job. All right. And that is the end of our work session. Thanks, everyone.
Let's see.